Hello, everybody. Hayward Crawford here. Welcome back to another edition in our Second City Detroit Zoom interview series. I'm joined here by the one and only Catherine Worth, another Second City Detroit alum. Catherine graduated from a BFA from Wayne State University. Shout out Wayne State in theater. She began her professional stage career working at the Detroit Repertory Theater while an undergrad at Wayne. After graduating college, she moved to Chicago, where she began working with the organic Touchstone Theater. While working in Chicago, she got the call to head back to Detroit to become a mini stage performer at the acclaimed Second City. She spent over 2 years there as the performer, writing and acting in 6 productions, where she garnered critical praise. She left the Second City to move to Los Angeles with her husband, where she worked extensively with the East LA Classic Theater, run by acclaimed director Tony Plana, and Open First Theater. Within a few years after living in Los Angeles, Catherine reunited with her Second City ensemble member, the great Larry Joe Campbell, performing in his one-man show that offered her the opportunity to work in comedy again. You might have to show me how that works. If it's a one-man show, there's 2 people in it.
Right. There were, I think, 3 of us in it.
Oh, okay. All right. The plot thickens.
Right.
And Catherine also had roles in such shows as Strong Medicine, According to Jim, Comedy Central's Key and Peele, as an actor and musician. She has toured with Brian McKnight as a violinist and filmed many national commercials. Catherine currently lives in Los Angeles with her husband and 2 children. Welcome, Catherine Worth, to our series.
Thank you. Yes, I think
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes you lose track of time and things like that. I think I was shy of 2 years at Second City, Detroit.
Okay.
So a little shy of that because I came in and then I ended up leaving in. I came in like at the beginning of 1 year and then left by like September of 1998. I moved to LA at that point. So I don't know. Everything blurs together.
Right, over time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So what do you typically tell people when I know they may not be coming to you every day, but what do you typically tell people when they ask you about Second City Detroit, when that slice of time comes up?
You know what? I mean, it's weird. So the interesting thing is when I moved to LA in September of 1998,
Hmm.
like I walked into LA and I was like, okay, I was just a main stage performer of Second City.
Hmm.
Like this is, I mean, people, all sorts of people have come out of Second City, and what we do is so amazing there. I was like, when I come into LA, this will, people will know, and it can open up some doors. And I would be like, okay, yeah, I would meet agents and things like that, and I was like, well, I was a part of Second City, and they were like, Second City, what's that? And I was like, wait, what's that? Like
Mm.
it was so confusing to me, obviously being here in Michigan and also living in Chicago and just kind of this area, and then Toronto being so close to us and all of that, that Second City was huge. We knew what that was, but people in LA were like, I don't know what Second City is. So they knew Saturday Night Live.
Hmm.
They knew SCTV, they knew Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara and, John Belushi, Jim Belushi, things like that. They knew those people and they were like, oh, they were on SCTV and like Saturday Night Live, but they didn't know that those people were Second City before. So I really needed to inform people in LA what the theater was and where, these people came from, and then saying that I'm part of a huge group of alum that yes are on television in LA right
Hmm.
now, and they were like, oh, okay. um but so that was kind of interesting to me. It did not open up doors for me in 1998. People did not know what that was in LA. They knew the groundlings because they were out there in LA. But
Hmm.
it didn't have the excitement in the that we had here. When you said that you were in Second City in Detroit or in Chicago or in Toronto, there was an excitement, and being in Second City in Detroit in the 90s was like just really exciting. We were downtown, the heart of the city. Red Wings were winning, Tigers were doing great. People were coming downtown. We were writing, performing like about 4 shows a year, I guess. And, um, constantly, changing things over, trying to figure out how to make everything better. So I think, that was exciting, but in LA, it didn't open up any doors for me at all. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting dynamic as far as obviously back in the '90s it wasn't like internet to where like everybody can just sort of learn and educate like this is what was going on in Detroit, this sort of hidden
Oh
gem, if
yeah.
you will.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Yep.
so what did a typical week look like? Because I know you're with at Second City Detroit just over 2 years or so. What did it look like typically for a regular rostered performer slash writer, with Second City?
Oh gosh. We had shows basically on Tuesday through Sunday.
Hmm.
Um like we had 2 shows on Friday and Saturday.
Hmm.
And then of course we were doing an improvised show at the end of each night as well. So you do your written show,
Hmm.
and then you do your improvised show at the end of each night. And then while the audience, to the audience, everything, the improvised show looks like just all fun and games and all of that. It was work. That was work for us because we were constantly trying to figure out um, new pieces and characters and all of that we were going to put in another show, right? Because the main stage Chicago basically performs like 2 shows a year, and we were doing
Hmm.
double, so we needed to have double the material. So we were
Hmm.
constantly working and writing and trying to work on things, and it was fun to improvise, but at the end of every night then we're going, okay, what scenes do we like, what do we think that we want to work on again? What do we want to bring back tomorrow night and see if we can change a little bit because maybe we can do that for another show. Um, and then when we were directly working on a show, we had rehearsals like all day as well. So you basically got in, I don't know, somewhere around like 10 and 11, started
Hmm.
working, had some lunch, then worked some more, then had dinner, and then, worked and tried to get ready for the show that then happened at 8 o'clock at night. And then on Fridays, like 8 and 10, and then improvising. And then you basically, at the end of the night, close down bars, go home, and then basically sit up because at night you're like, okay, I just did all this. And now you're at your house, like with your notebook, writing things down, going like, okay, I like this. And maybe let me flush this scene out. So sometimes you wouldn't go to bed until like 4 o'clock in the morning because you're just working out ideas. And then you got to get up and do it all over again. So, yeah.
It was a grind. I'm getting very, similar vibes to like SNL and kind of their crazy
Oh, yeah.
schedule. They're writing up all night and then doing
Yeah.
dress and read table reads and all that.
Yeah.
So
Except with
yeah.
Saturday Night Live, they do it
Mhm.
for one night. It's Saturday. So
Mm.
Second City, we were doing that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Ooh,
Sunday. So that's every night, like except for Monday. We were dark on Monday. So.
man. So tell me about some of like the best relationships you formed. Obviously while you were at Second City Detroit briefly, I'm sure there were a lot of people. You mentioned Larry Joe Campbell earlier.
Yeah.
Whether they were mentors, teachers, or just great people, just relationships formed there.
Yeah. Um so definitely I had an amazing group of people that I worked with. I mean, my original cast was Larry Joe Campbell, Grant Krause, Margaret Exner, which was Edward Towski now, Josh Funk, Rico Bruce Wade, and then later on we added in Mary Jane Porres and Eric Black and Keegan Michael Key and
Mm.
Brandon Johnson. So, Larry and I were friends before Second City, and we've worked on shows in many spaces together, and
Mm.
he was really the reason that I even got an audition at Second City. We, I was living in Chicago and I was working in Chicago. When I graduated from Wayne, I was like, okay, I'm going to go 2 places. I'm either going to go Chicago or I'm going to go to New York. And so I went to Chicago with a group of friends, and we got this house together, and it was great. And then Larry ended up calling me, and he was like, I had only been living there for about maybe 8 months. And he was like, hey, there is a position at Second City in Detroit, and they are looking for people to audition for it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I drove like one day back to Detroit. I auditioned for the role that was, at that point, it was Angela Shelton, who is amazing. But she had literally got popped to go to Toronto. And then then they were like, okay, well, we want you to be in this cast. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's really one of the reasons why I got it is, you know, Larry had called me up for it. Obviously Margaret Exner, you know, Ed Rutowski, we were also friends from Wayne State. We performed in many shows together, and she is really one of the most like brilliant pantomime actors I have ever worked with. She creates a space from nothing that you can just see visually when you walk in. You know, she will set up the space for you, open up cabinets, things like that, cups, and you just know where everything is. When you walk in, you are like, oh, if you're doing a scene with her, you know that this is where the cabinet is, and that these are what the cups look like, and this is how heavy they are, and that she's got a couch over here and all of that. She just sets it up, and it really makes the scene much better because of how she's set it up. And she's also an amazing singer and tap dancer, by the way, as well. Rico was really my first partner because, like I said, I came in and I took over for Angela, who I got to know more in LA than Detroit, because we only had a few days together before she moved to Toronto. Okay. But many of her scenes were with Rico, that I was coming into a show that she had already written. And, you know, Rico was so caring and just wanted to make sure that I was successful. So, you know, there were some improvisers out there that are really generous performers, and he was definitely one of them. And then John Hildreth was like my first director, and I would say teacher, really, because when I came in, I didn't really know anything about sketch comedy. My degree was from Wayne. I was a theater person who had done Shakespeare and all of these other things, and I had done like commedia dell'arte, like comedy, you know, Italian clown work, but that was not sketch comedy. So he was a lot like Rico in the way that he really wanted to see you succeed and work to make that happen. And then Ron West, who's a very dear friend of mine because we work a lot together in LA. You know, he also was, I think, instrumental in helping me find myself on the Second City stage. And unfortunately, I feel like I left there before I had just started to kind of come into my own there, but then I got married and moved to LA. So yeah.
Wow. And I had a chance to sit down with Margaret as well, and Joe Jane, so they definitely send their love. And I think a good lesson I just keep hearing is the fact of just being a generous performer and kind of sharing the stage. And I'm even there's a place called the Actors Loft in Royal Oak, and I'm taking some sketch writing and acting classes there right now. And that's kind of one thing that just always rings true, is where it comes down to listening, not thinking about what's the next thing you're going to say, but, you know, obviously sharing and letting everybody shine. If you let them shine, everyone's going to shine as well. So it's great to hear, like, you know, still have those relationships, you know, from all the way back then until now. Now tell me, what were maybe some, whether it was just a Second City Detroit or any other comedy sketch or theater group, maybe you want to share just some of maybe some setbacks, some failures, and how you kind of overcame those, and some lessons we learn,
Yeah.
looking back.
So I really, like I said, I really had to work hard to find my voice at Second City. Um,
Mhm.
I'd never done sketch before. I didn't even know some of the terminology. So, Angela and Rico were just this powerhouse team together, and
Mhm.
but I was super confident in playing the roles. When I got cast, they were like, "Yep, we want you," and I was like, "Great." They're like, "Can you come now?" And I was like, "Well, actually, no, I am going to Mexico with my parents right now, but I'll be back in a week." And they were like, "Okay, that's great. When you come back in a week, you will have 2 days to learn the show and then you'll be in." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So it was like, and so I came back and I got the script, and I watched Angela for 2 days and wrote notes all in the script.
Mhm.
And you're moving scenery and things like that, and then during the day she was running me through all of the things that I needed to do. And then the third day I was doing the show and she was watching me, and giving me
Wow.
notes and saying, "Hey," and then she was gone. Like, it was like, "See you later, bye."
Talk
I'm
about
off to
accelerated
Toronto.
boot camp,
Yeah,
like accelerated boot
absolutely.
camp.
Yeah, and you're learning, not only are you learning music and um, choreography and how to move things and all of that, but I had come into, for me, just a show, right? I'd come into a show that had already been written, and it was learning the show. I mean, my memory is not that great now, I feel like, because I'm old, but it just, at that point, it was malleable and I could learn things real quick. But uh, then when I came, doing her pieces, I knew I had a degree in theater. I can play a
Mhm.
part. But then writing your own show that's a different thing. So I was a different person than her. And the show had really, there was an element of race in the city, that she and Rico really brought in there. And I was this mixed kid growing up in the city with a West Indian mother who worked the way you would expect a West Indian mother to work, like 85 jobs. And, but they were all like, I mean, she had her PhD and all of that. She worked in,
Mhm.
education and nursing and all of this kind of stuff, that my experience was not the same in the city as hers was, or even Rico's
Mhm.
was. So me trying to kind of like, when they were like, "Okay, well, we gotta do this race in the city stuff," I was like, uh, okay, but I don't know what that is. Like, it was different for me. And
Mhm.
it wasn't until Keegan came to the company that we first started exploring those other ideas of being that mixed kid. Even one of my favorite ideas never made it into the show.
Mhm.
Actually, Keegan ended up putting it in his sketch show. Um, that type of idea that he did with Jordan, but
Mhm.
we never were able to get it into the Second City show. We had an other twins, kind of like the Wonder Twins.
Mhm.
But because we were mixed, we could kind of assimilate into all sort of different things. But because I wasn't familiar, there was also a certain director who just didn't want to work with me. And that was a
Mhm.
really tough time. The entire show writing experience, there was a lot of crying by me.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't go out after and drink with the cast. I wrote constantly, and every scene that I brought in to him was nope, nope, nope.
Mhm.
That's a blackout. Nope. I had cast members tell me that I needed to step up or I was going to lose my job. But they never knew what I was doing daily. I had notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of scenes that I had written, and I was bringing, and it was being just shot down by the director. Um,
Mhm.
and I was also having trouble improvising because I was really second guessing everything that I was doing, and you can't do that,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
all my cast members were just so fast. Like Brandon Johnson had just been added to the cast, and he had the fastest and most hilarious one-liners that could
Mhm.
come out of nowhere. And I just I never knew what to do after that, because it just got a huge laugh. And I was just like, ugh, and then Keegan had come in with all of his energy and physicality that was unmatched. And it was a boys club. It was absolutely a boys club. And we had moved from that traditional cast of 5 to 7. So it was also harder to get scenes in. And it wasn't until the next show after that, that when we got a new director, that my scenes that I had written before in my notebooks started getting yeses, where Ron West came in and was like, those scenes never even got off the paper. And Ron West was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it, So, it's hard. I was, a lot of times I was a straight man in a lot of the scenes. So, also when I moved to LA, there was no support group. There was no Second City training center, there was no, I went to the Groundlings to see if I could audition for them. They were like, oh, you can pay for classes and then you can audition to be in our next group where you pay for higher levels. So it was a wake-up call that my career was just going to be different. I wasn't gonna like come out of Second City and be like, welcome to LA, here I am. At that time in Hollywood, you also didn't see many women of color on television, unless they were like these tall, straight-haired, beautiful women, but as other cast members moved to the city, then that support group had changed, because I had already been here. People stayed with me for, in LA while they were getting their feet on the ground. So, yeah.
Wow. And even at the time you said like Second City, LA, I guess that wasn't a chapter that was established until much later.
Yeah.
Right?
So Second City, LA, I guess had been there for a second, like a real short second. But because they were doing shows, and I think they were in like Santa Monica or something like that. And it was even before I got there. They were like, somebody would come to a show and then they would immediately pull that person to be on TV. So then, at least this is the story I heard, they would pull people to be on TV, and then the cast was down a person. And so they couldn't like perform their shows. And they'd be like,
Wow.
okay, So it wasn't until much later that they brought Second City back in, and where they are in Hollywood now, and then created a training center, and then started doing shows. I mean, that's within the last, like 10 years or so. So.
So just with all those experiences, and once again, I think that's, just a lesson for all creatives out there, especially me being younger on my journey, and just knowing that, it's never about like, oh, as soon as I get into this group, or as soon as I get this camera, or as soon as I meet this person or accomplish that. It's kind of like we're always building and we're always growing, and we always have to sort of keep just, stay on our journey, and we're always learning and building upon levels. So tell us a little bit about like how you took those lessons from Second City and applied it toward your current ventures. Obviously, working in TV, working with Larry Joe Campbell on a new show. Tell us about just any current theater and sort of acting ventures that you've taken Second City and applied it toward what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, the Larry show was a while ago. That was,
okay.
When he was, yeah. But, I just, for me, I guess just being in most of my work in LA is primarily commercial work. And when you walk into a room, in a commercial room, 80% of the time, there's no dialogue. So basically they're like, okay, so you're this person and you're this person, and just make stuff up. So on a daily basis, that is what I'm doing for most of my auditions. Very few times do they have copy that they want you to read and act. A lot of times it's like, oh, I just need to see your relationship with this person. And so I feel like I'm constantly improvising all the time. It just, that I do. And working with Second City, that really helped me. And then, when I was teaching, students when I first moved to LA as well, like that was, that's kind of how, because there was no Second City Training Center, I had a director at the Open Fist Theater Company who used to do a lot of improv games with the cast when we were working on some crazy shows. And after working with me, he was like, you should work at my studio and you should have your own class. And so I had my own class of students that I taught improv to, kids who couldn't afford the Groundlings or, any of those other things. And I mean, I'm always excited to see my students on television shows and things like that. The other day, one of my past students from however many years ago it was, I don't do it anymore, but I don't, but when I was teaching, I just looked at, was it Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I was like, oh my God, that was my student. Sung Kang was one of my students in my improv class, and he's killing it. He's doing a bunch of stuff, but it was interesting to see, all of these students, and he had just kind of started out and getting into acting and doing the improv, and he was great. And now he's on all sorts of things. So but yeah.
Awesome. Full circle moments. So what would you, I guess, as we wrap up here, tell me a little bit about what legacy means to you when it comes to your career and your concentration in craft, and how would you want your legacy to be remembered?
Well, I mean, I don't think I'm finished yet. So, I feel like I don't even have a legacy yet. I just want to work for a long time. I hope my legacy is still being created. I have a Girl Scout troop that I work with, and work on improv and just film and teaching them about all of that. I still in LA work with past Second City alums if we are doing things. I work with Ron West. I was working with Rick and Laura Hall until they moved back to Chicago. But I just feel like I can learn so much. So it's definitely still being created there. It's hard. I mean, it was such a great time during that period in my life. It was hard but great. What you remember sometimes is interesting, because I know we all remember things differently. Now that I think about it, I don't even know. I'm like, how many shows did we do a week? I don't even remember now. All I know is we were closed on Monday. So I don't know if we did shows Thursday through Sunday or Tuesday through Sunday. It just felt like we were working all the time. But I loved that. I loved that I was working all the time, that we were constantly working towards something. And so I guess for myself, that's what I want to be doing as well, just working towards something all the time.
That's a great mindset. And I guess to end on that, if there's anyone out there who's an aspiring theater actor, actress, they want to get involved, sketch comedy or whatever it may be in the creative arts field, is there any just sort of 2 to 3 points or just takeaways you can give them that they're starting brand new today and get in this industry? What advice do you have for them? We keep it straight,
take classes. There are so many different training centers where you can learn and hone your class. And, it doesn't have to be Second City. There are so many places around that have really exciting people and people who know what they're doing. And who can look at it from an outside lens and help you work towards it. I mean, Mark Evan Jackson is here in Detroit with the Detroit Creativity Project and working with students in the high schools and young people. I mean, young. Starting young is great. Yeah. Really being able to get out of your head is really important. And then reading and being informed about what is going on in the world, because sketch comedy is really about making a difference and having people think about something in a different way, grabbing that satire but you have to be informed. You can't just, go, oh, I'm just gonna, get up and do funny things. Sketch and improv doesn't have to be funny. It can be hard hitting,
Right.
but you've got to read and you have to be informed. So.
Awesome. Well, great takeaways, great gems. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into the Second City Detroit Zoom interview series. Catherine, don't have you stick around for a second.
Okay.
But everyone else, it's been a great interview. I hope you guys taking away some nuggets. Look forward to more alumni interviews as time goes on. And then, of course, our full-length, documentary series, which is down the line. So I'll see you guys next time.